You bought the clean, organic soup. The front of the package literally said no added MSG. And an hour later, you had a headache or that foggy, wired feeling. And you thought, I did everything right. What happened? If that's ever happened to you, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not imagining it, and you didn't do anything wrong. The truth is that the active part of MSG, a compound called free glutamate, is legally allowed to hide on that label under names you would never suspect. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly where it hides, why some women react strongly while others never feel a thing, and what the best human research actually proves about MSG sensitivity. I'm going to keep this honest with you because there's a lot of fear online that the science doesn't support, and there are a few things that are very real. If you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman, a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic stress so that you can cruise through midlife and beyond symptom-free. Now, before we get into where glutamate hides and how to take back control, I have a free resource that will help you start regulating your body right away. Just comment the word guide below or go to drgayla.com/link and I'll send it right over. You can also scan the QR code right here on the screen. So let's start with what glutamate even is, because this is where the honesty comes in. Glutamate is not some foreign poison. It's one of the most important signaling molecules in your body and the main excitatory neurotransmitter in your brain. You also eat it naturally all day long. There's glutamate in tomatoes, in Parmesan, in mushrooms, in breast milk. The average adult takes in roughly 13 grams of glutamate a day just from normal food protein, compared to about half a gram from added MSG. So the question was never, is glutamate bad? The real question is, what happens when you get a big hit of the free, unbound form fast on an empty stomach? Here's the mechanism that actually matters. When free glutamate comes bound up inside whole food and protein, your gut handles it slowly and your blood levels barely move. But when you take that same glutamate in a loose, dissolved form, like a savory broth sipped on an empty stomach, it bypasses that slow handling and your blood glutamate can spike rapidly. Exact same amount of glutamate alongside carbohydrates and a real meal, and that spike is almost completely blunted. Same compound, completely different experience in your body. That single fact explains why two women can eat the same thing and only one of them gets the headache. Now let's look at what the strongest human research actually found, because this is the study I want you to see for yourself. It's a multi-center, double-blind, placebo-controlled, multiple challenge evaluation of reported reactions to monosodium glutamate. It's published in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology in 2000. Researchers took people who were certain they were MSG sensitive and gave them a large 5-gram dose of MSG with no food. Ouch, I would be suffering with a very wicked headache, I'm sure. So, sure enough, more of them reacted than when they were given a placebo. So sensitivity is real, but here is the part that matters most. When those same people were challenged again, their reactions did not reliably repeat. They were inconsistent from one test to the next, and the symptoms were not dangerous. So what that tells us is not that you're making it up. It tells us the reaction is real for some people, but it's erratic, and it depends heavily on two things: a large dose and an empty stomach. And I will add something else to this that the study would not have even thought to test for, and that is your stress level. When your system is already stressed, then any additional toxic stressor even something like this, is going to tip the scales. This is also why so many of the scary MSG always causes headaches studies fall apart on a closer look. A high enough dose of MSG dissolved in water tastes genuinely awful, which means the people in the study can often tell they didn't get the placebo. And once the blinding breaks like that, the results get unreliable. So when you see a frightening headline, it's worth asking whether the people in the study could taste the difference. A lot of the time they could. And then here's another layer to feeling better after 50 that often gets missed. The foods that may be quietly stressing your system as digestion slows with age include common triggers like dairy, gluten, yeast, sugar, and alcohol, what I refer to as the Fierce Five. And these can start showing up as fatigue, bloating, mood changes, poor sleep, or stubborn weight gain. I made a video that I titled Enemies of Your Health After 50, What Foods to Avoid, where I walk through the foods that may be working against your energy, gut health, and midlife hormone balance. I also explain why reactions can be delayed, why ultra processed foods and poor quality fats matter, and how to start connecting your symptoms to what you're eating. So I'll put the link to that here on the screen as well, but I'll also put it in the description below. So be sure to watch that next. Also, while you're at it, subscribe too, because I share practical tips on managing stress and feeling better through midlife just about every week. So let's get practical about where this actually hides, because this is the part that changes how you shop. The label trick comes down to one FDA rule. A food only has to say MSG if pure monosodium glutamate is added on its own. If the same free glutamate arrives as part of another ingredient, the package can legally say no added MSG right on the front. And I guess it's generally true, right? But that doesn't really help those of us who are very sensitive to it. So here are the names to look for on that label: hydrolyzed vegetable protein, autolyzed yeast, yeast extract, sodium caseinate, and calcium caseinate. And on international or imported labels, the additive code E621, which is simply MSG by another number. When you see those words, your body is going to treat that food as a source of free glutamate, no matter what the front of the box promises. So why does this seem to land harder for women in midlife? Two honest reasons. First, a lot of women are already living with migraines at roughly 3 times the rate of men. So the baseline susceptibility is simply higher. I will say that I do not struggle with migraines or headaches on a regular basis, and so that is not an explanation for me. But if a big empty stomach dose of free glutamate is going to act as a trigger for anyone, women are statistically more likely to be the ones who feel it. Now, second, in perimenopause, your brain chemistry is already in flux. Research shows that healthy women in perimenopause experience a measurable drop in glutamate in a brain region called the medial prefrontal cortex as their hormones swing. Your brain is already recalibrating its own glutamate balance, and that is precisely the moment to be thoughtful about pouring in a big, fast external dose. This isn't about fear, it's about respecting what your body is already managing. So, to be completely fair to the other side of this, the FDA classifies MSG as generally recognized as safe, and independent reviews agree that for most people at normal food amounts, it doesn't cause lasting harm. The transient stuff, the flushing, the headache, the numbness, tends to show up only at large doses around 3 grams or more and taken without food. A lot of the most alarming findings about glutamate and the brain and the liver come from high dose animal studies where animals were given amounts no human would ever eat in a meal. I'm not going to dress those up as proof of what happens to you at dinner, though, because I know how I experience it. I cannot eat a Chinese food meal with MSG in it and think I'm going to feel good afterwards. And so that's me eating MSG at a fairly normal dose with a meal. And so if you feel like me, you know that there's more to this story, but this also gives you some information to understand what's happening when you feel like maybe it snuck in on you. The honest summary is this: for most people, MSG isn't dangerous, but for sensitive people, especially under the wrong conditions, it's real and it's worth controlling. So here's my caution, and it's a simple one. You do not need to live in fear of glutamate, and you definitely don't need to throw out your tomatoes and Parmesan. What you need is awareness of the concentrated, hidden, fast hitting form. Flip the package over. If you see hydrolyzed vegetable protein, autolyzed yeast, yeast extract, sodium or calcium caseinate, or that E621 number, you know that you're looking at free glutamate, regardless of what the front label claims. So if you know you're someone who reacts, the two highest leverage moves are these: don't take it concentrated on an empty stomach, like a bouillon, a broth, or even in a seasoning packet stirred into hot water during a fast. And pair foods that may have a dose of this with a real meal so the spike stays blunted. That's most of the battle, and it costs you nothing but a habit of turning the box around or the jar around and looking at the label. And honestly, you should be doing that anyway. So if you've been doing everything right and still feeling reactive, foggy, or wired, and you want to understand the hidden stressors that may be keeping your body stuck, grab a copy of my book, What's Your Kryptonite? It walks you through the toxic triggers, the ones hiding in plain sight, that can keep your body from responding the way it should. And make sure you subscribe to the channel for more practical root cause help with your hormones and your health. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever reacted to a meal you were sure was clean? Are you going to start turning the package over to check for yeast extract and hydrolyzed protein? So share that below. I read those comments to better understand what you need most. And if your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. I have more resources to help you navigate midlife. Just go to drgayla.com/links and watch my next video, where I show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally, without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack.